I remember our days in Home Bureau.
I do too.
You two were together in Home
Yes.
Bureau? And what is Home Bureau?
Well, that's an outgrowth of the extension service.
Okay.
But we used to sew, or
I
talk about, but we would, and if you wanted to, now I took tailoring courses that were offered by the extension. So I tailored little jackets and I used to
See, there was a home dem agent who had been a counterpart of my husband in the county agricultural area. So this was a home dem agent, and so we had units.
But we would do different projects.
Yes, I always liked the cooking projects. That was my favorite
We
one.
cooked and we did crafts.
Crafts, chair weaving,
And I remember teaching macrame.
oh, you did?
Yes. We made macrame owls in one group one time.
And these were going out in the evening to do this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So you were working during the day and then you would go out on the evening?
Yes.
We weren't watching television.
And this is after you had children, or
Yes,
when they were
this is
grown up?
after, and a lot of us were young mothers.
Yeah.
And it was a night out. And
But you didn't go out every night of the week. This would be just one.
Oh, this would be once a month.
Once a month.
Once
yeah.
a month,
Yeah.
and we
With
would get together and kind of share stories. We were
Sort of a social group in a way. Was ours a Monday evening group?
Monday evening,
Right.
and I
Remember
can't,
that?
and Lois
Lois
Newton was in there, and she has gotten some of us together. Don't
Yes,
you remember?
we've been together
Just recently.
twice. And not too long ago, when I was talking with her about Tim, she said, I think it's time we got that group together again. And I said, well, you don't have to get a cane for me yet.
But, so we've remained, it was a nice, as you said, social group, but we did do a lot of things.
That's right.
So that was fun.
Oh, the changes the years have brought.
An exam, because if you had a certain average,
That's right. We used to do that too.
you didn't have to.
In some courses.
And then, so I have to wonder that they say that taking tests makes you ready for more tests. I don't agree with that.
I don't
because
either.
I had no
Because I
trouble
think
in,
there's some children that are just very poor test subjects. They get nervous and they can't perform as they should.
well, I think I could have passed the test anyway.
Oh,
because
I know you could have.
I had no trouble in college with the test, but I wasn't familiar with the Regents program until I came up. And Scotty, Ignatius Scott,
Down the street.
down the street, he went through the Regents program. I mean, I just thought when I came up here I would teach a good geometry course, and I just didn't have to make a final exam. And I think basically that's what I did, or tried to do. But he went through with me in June to show me how and all the things I needed to do to correct the Regents.
I was always so grateful I didn't have to take Regents. I thought we might have to take a county exam, but at least we don't do Regents.
So I was well indoctrinated into the Regents part of it. But
Has the Regents program always been here?
yes, it was more involved even because there used to be 8th grade Regents before you got to the high school. Now, when I guess there was still 8th grade math Regents, maybe not more than a year or so after I got here. But then there was a Regents in algebra and a Regents in geometry and a Regents in trig. And then I was involved in teaching the students who were better math students, and we decided they didn't need a whole year of trig, so we had this Math 11. And so that's when Math 11 started as it's an accelerated, and then the intermediate algebra died out as far as the Regents subject makes or breaks.
Would you get a Regents diploma or just a standard high school diploma?
Right. But I think now Regents has been carried to the point where a lot of your maybe better information is conveyed in the Regents program, because I think we used to dumb down our non-Regents.
Yes, yes.
We used to think that those kids couldn't learn, and so if it was a non-Regents, we wouldn't put much stuff in there that...
The Regents I've seen look like college courses. A lot of them are quite advanced, so.
Well, the non-regents, to put the other way, were very weak.
Uh-huh.
We just,
Still are? Or
there's no such thing.
there's no such?
To get a diploma today, you must take the regents.
Okay.
There is no such thing. They're heterogeneously grouped. You have
That's recent then.
last few years.
Yes.
There's no such thing as an accelerated. Well, there are some honors courses, but when we used to group,
Oh, grouping.
and
That was too far out.
well, I don't know. My son went through the top groups, and he never rubbed elbows with anybody that wasn't a good student until he hit maybe junior high, and he got them in health and phys ed.
But you grew up in junior high too, as we did in New Jersey, right?
Oh yeah, and by the time he went through, when he got to high school, he already, of course, he was probably his own best science teacher. I mean, his father was.
I told you earlier.
His father was a science teacher too, but he took his biology regents when he was halfway through his freshman year, just because he'd done all the biology. So he came over with a French credit, a math credit. He'd taken algebra in 8th grade. So he came over with high school credits, as did several of his other.
How did you see students change over the years? That was a question that they asked Connie.
Strange you should ask that. I sort of think, I know I ran a tight ship in my classroom, although I was a gentle person. But when I did this Giles Corey bit, it was after I retired, and I presented it to a school, I won't tell you which one, and the kids were in the classroom with their caps on backward. I wouldn't have allowed anyone to have had a cap on in my classroom. I'd see a difference in the change of dress.
Now you finished teaching when? So what years are we talking about?
Let me see. I can't tell you the exact year.
Approximately, just in the...
Well, in the 70s.
In the 70s. So in the 70s, there was still a lot of respect for teachers.
That's exactly what I was going to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
I don't
And
see
the dress code was...
I remember Elmer Willard, who was our elementary school principal. And one day I was coming back with my class after lunch, and he stopped me, and he said, "Phyllis, I think one of your girls has on a skirt. Will you please ask her not to wear it again?" And you remember a skirt?
Yeah.
An invited skirt.
Uh-huh.
Now I see the tops girls wear, and I'm appalled.
But we've gone through this, and you can't have a dress code. The only thing you can do is if it's a hazard, if it's a health hazard or safety hazard. Although I think you'll find that you won't see baseball caps in high school anymore.
Is that true?
Yes, there's a rule against caps.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I thought that was the greatest disrespect.
And certain words on T-shirts, that's always been forbidden.
I have a granddaughter who taught 1 year in Kentucky. This is one of my specialists in my family. And one of my specialists in my family. And they had a dress code. Boys had to wear like khaki pants, and they couldn't wear a shirt with a logo on it. And girls wore just a couple of colors. And it was not a parochial school, it was a public school.
Well, that would be okay if no one challenged it.
Yes.
Those are the kinds of things that if they are challenged, then probably they wouldn't hold up.
And it seems to me, well, I can't compare with today, but I could see an eagerness in 4th grade. They were ready to absorb everything. I don't know whether that exists today or not. I hope it does.
I think some of them do.
So,
I can remember take Regents exams when the guys would come in with tank tops, and we would have to go down to the nurse's office when Dave Durkee was principal. I don't know there were his rules or whatever, but we would have to go down to the nurse's office and get shirts that had been left behind or have them go to their gym locker and put on something so they didn't have, these were the guys. No tank tops, and have to put shirts on.
Good. Do you remember Frances Van Dyke?
Oh, certainly.
She was a tiny little teacher, a 4th grade teacher, excellent teacher. And how she walked up and down the corridors in heels like that, I'll never know. One day, the same Elmer Willard, our principal that I'm speaking of, saw a child behind Frances in line, and the child was mimicking the walk. Elmer came out of that office and grabbed that child like this, and I think this child was very sorry, but he was showing no respect. And Elmer wasn't going to have that in his school. Oh, you're making me think of so many things. Am I making you think of things?
Uh-huh.